Hello and welcome to the presentation on technical textiles. It is very difficult to establish this fact that when the technical textile application or the name given to the technical textiles was really brought into practice. But with the advent of non-woven manufacturing around 1950s and later on the specific end uses in certain industries, earlier they were called as the industrial textiles, and later on with certain modifications they acquired the name as what they are called today. India also is not behind in this field. This is a rising star, so to say, according to the Textiles Committee as far as the manufacturing goes. So let's concentrate on what are these. To start with, let's define the technical textiles. The textiles which are used in the specific end-use applications or the certain functions, they are defined by the Textile Institute Manchester as technical textiles, which are free from any ornamentation, or maybe if it is done to the very little possible extent, they are technical textiles. Even if we have defined the technical textiles, but it is very difficult to evolve a very comprehensive definition of them. Now, therefore, it also proceeds to what is the classification of such technical textiles, if we consider that they are meant for certain end-use applications. So a new set of classification system was evolved, and all the technical textiles were categorized in certain categories like the agrotech, build-tech, cloth-tech, geotech, home-tech, end-tech, med-tech, mobi-tech, oiko-tech, pack-tech, pro-tech, and the sport-tech. So the specific end uses in this field are clubbed under a certain head name. As the technical textile applications are not very new to the Indian people. The first ever example may have been the bow and the arrow. The bowstring, which was used for extension purpose, and so that the stored energy in the string could be transferred to the arrow, and then the arrow will hit the target. So that was probably the first ever example of the technical textile applications. The globe is full of amazements. So not only the mankind, but even the animals, the birds, the plants also prefer the textiles, as it can be said jokingly that they are using for the technical applications rather than for their apparels. Like the bird's nest, like the cotton fibers, natural parachute, like the spider web, or like the cocoon. These are the early day examples of the technical textile. Now, as regards the yarns which are required for the technical textile manufacturing. Now, as we are aware that there are two basic categories of the yarns. One is the spun yarns and the other one is the filament yarns. Now, spun yarns could be manufactured on two basic systems, namely the carded, combed, or the co-spun, single, double, multifold cabled from the spun sector, or from the filament sector, multifilament yarn, monofilament yarn, twisted, untwisted filament yarn, or also the filament yarn can be commonly used along with the spun yarn for technical application. Now, after we had seen the different yarns which are manufactured on the yarn manufacturing systems, now the question is, what type of material is required for the technical textile applications? Now, to start with, if somebody wants to use directly the yarns, then they can be used for as the ropes, twines and the cordages, which are later on going to be utilized in the applications like nets and similar things. Now, as regards the fabric is concerned, the non-woven fabrics, for example, they can be manufactured on different techniques and as well as for different applications, like from disposable to the geotechnical or the other applications. The woven fabrics are supposed to be manufactured on 3 basic systems: for heavy applications, medium applications and for light applications. So the planning required to be made in weaving is accordingly to be done. For non-woven also, the planning required to be done, like the web formation, web laying and bonding, etc., that is required to be properly planned. Similar is the case in case of the knitted fabrics also. In most of the applications, non-wovens are supposed to be the suitable form for technical textiles, and then comes the application from weaving sector. Knitting is last that is selected for the technical applications. As far as the conventional use of textile goes, mostly these textiles go in the apparel sector, or say the dress material or the undergarments and similar applications. But as regards the technical textiles are concerned, if you consider the decorative application means it comes from the home textiles, wherein somebody has the carpets, the upholstery application, likewise. As far as the filters are concerned, filters can be used in the tablet manufacturing in the medical plant for purification of the chemicals. Then it comes in the soap sector, where the soap solution is purified or filtered. That can also come as a dust filter in the textile field, in the spinning room. As regards the defense applications are concerned, in defense there are numerous applications of the technical textiles, right from the shoelace used by the soldier up to the very protective clothing that is worn by the soldier as a smart textile, up to the helmet. In every case in defense, for small applications, the technical textiles are utilized. As regards the civil engineering is concerned, it goes in the acoustic related application or structural applications in the civil engineering. Aviation, the composites, textile composites are utilized in the aviation sector, even the parachutes, the holdalls, likewise the applications are there in the aviation industry. In the marine applications, the similar things like the boat carpets, the ceilings, the protective shields. In the industrial side, for example, somebody goes for the belts, the conveyors, the linkages. They come from the polymer field and therefore they find their utility in that field. In the medical field, there are again in numerous applications in the medical sector. In the packing industry also, nowadays the technical textiles are on the greater utility side. In the protective side, it is for the trekkers, the protective suit that is generated for the sports people or the defense people, the air related people. So numerous applications are there as regards the unconventional textiles are concerned. If all the protective applications are clubbed together, they are quite a large in number. Like for example, in passenger cars, the seat belts do the protective job while the accident is likely to take place. Now as regards, for example, the bulletproof jackets which are worn by the soldier during the wartime situation or any terror attack, that also serves the purpose of protection to the human body. The gloves which are used in the industrial side, which also act as a protective measure. The life jackets, the vest belts, the caps, helmets worn by the soldier, the shoe uppers, ribbons, tapes, safety nets utilized mostly during the trekking application or the military application, the fire hose which serves against the protection against the fire, the fireproof jackets which are worn by the firefighters, the pads, all these are coming under the protective clothing. And for each of these application, the specifications required are quite different, and they are required to be done on different manufacturing systems. Certain coatings are also required to be applied to the applicational needs, and the fiber type, the polymer chosen, all these things are required to be taken into account while somebody wants to proceed for the protective clothing manufacturing. As far our country goes, India has a huge potential for the medical textiles, not only because of the population, but the rest of the world, the medical charges are so high, and as compared to them, like the US and the European countries, almost our cost, the medical treatment cost comes to 50% of that. And therefore, if we really look into this and try to develop the medical applications, there will be a huge potential in the years to come. For example, the bandages. The bandages are also of various types, stretch type and the other rigid type bandages. And at the same time, they can be manufactured by using different yarns or different type of manufacturing systems. Similarly is to this, that is the knee caps, the shoulder caps which are utilized for some cramp development in the muscles, the neck supports, like the absorbent pads which are utilized during the operations, like the aprons worn by the nurses or the doctors, the sponges, the sutures, the blood filters, the urine filters, the threads which are utilized for stitching the wounds, are the various applications which are coming under the medical textile. As I had mentioned earlier, in the aviation field also, there is a huge scope for the technical textiles. Now, in aviation industry or in the aviation applications, parachutes come the first, which are supposed to be the protective type of a material. Protective in the sense, during the emergency purposes, it saves the life of the human being. The other type is the gliders. The next type is the seat belts, which are utilized for tying up and protecting the body of the passenger in the aircraft. The oxygen bags and the space suits. Of course, this space suit is totally a different application. So all the air related applications can be enlisted in this. Totally different type of manufacturing materials. The processing techniques are required to be given, and in most of the applications like the composites or the aircraft building, that also can come from the technical textile. The technical textile application in the geotextiles is quite different from those which are utilized in the civil engineering applications. Basically, geotextiles which are utilized in the geo-related applications, that is the soil-related applications, and which come in the three types, like the geotextiles which are permeable, the geomembranes which are impermeable, and the geotextile related applications. Now, the geotextiles have four basic functions: filtration, drainage, reinforcement, and separation. So all these four functions of the geotextiles can be further classified into application wise sectors, and their utility can be studied. For example, in the roads, the primary function is as it is denoted here. For example, the railed roads, like the surface drainage, steep slopes, landfills, walls, solid reinforcement, land reclamation, marine causeways, and coastal protection. In case of all these final applications, their basic functions plus secondary function and tertiary function are of utmost importance. Mostly in the geotextiles, the non-ones which are coming from the needle punch technique or the thermally bonded, they are commonly used, and in some applications the woven fabrics are chosen. In most of these applications, knitted fabrics do not find that much. What has been seen up till now is where the few broader applications of the technical textiles, and each of that group there are sub-utilities, and in that each of that sub-application finds its own technology of manufacturing, including the fiber selection, including the methodology selection, including the finishing or processing selection, and then comes the final utility, where the technical textile is supposed to translate its characteristic for a given end use. Then and then we can state that we have manufactured the technical textile in a successful manner. Now, unlike our apparel manufacturing, we are required to be very particular and peculiar about implementation of certain managerial aspects in case of the technical textiles. So let's see what are the requirements for running of a technical textile plant successfully. First and primemost thing is the timely delivery, as it is known to everybody that in apparel sector there could be some lapses in this, which is required to be overcome, and the precautions are required to be taken. The second thing is its characterization, like the weight, the elasticity, the abrasion resistance, the strength, etc., etc. All these properties ultimately in turn decide the in situ application and the characteristic translation from the technical textiles at a given appropriate place. Then and then the the technical textile is supposed to be a successful one. The durability of the technical textiles, the performance rendered by the technical textile at the given particular place, they play a very important role, unlike the apparel applications. Over and above the cost effectiveness, when we are seeing that the manufacturing is to take place in a very stringent fashion, the cost effectiveness also will play an important role as regards the competition goes in the manufacturing of them. What we had seen up till now, based on that, what we can conclude is textiles which are used for various purposes other than the apparels can usually be called as technical textiles. In technical textiles, the performance is considered to be the primemost factor and not the decorative property. Means the aesthetic property will not be given that much importance. For observing the first two priorities, we can safely say that we are required to engineer the product right from the yarn if it is required directly, or else in case of the non-wovens, we are required to engineer the product in such a fashion that finally it will translate its characteristic to the required specific end use. And also we are required to see carefully that the processing of these fabrics is done in an efficient fashion by knowing what are the needs at the given site.